I think we're good now.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. We can, yeah, just offer your saying.
Yeah, I was just saying I really love Requiem for a Dream. That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like one thing that is interesting about like Terrifier 2, especially compared to like 3, is that like there is
Mhm.
like I think Terrifier 2 there is like kind of like a like when you're finished with that movie there's like kind of like a sense of hope like oh things are gonna get
Mhm.
better and
Yeah.
then the way 3 ends it's just like
Yeah.
sad
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Like
cuz like
cuz like the like I think like besides like the post credit scene, like the final image of like the movie proper is just like Sienna and Jonathan who are like still alive, maybe horribly still alive considering that like their family and friends are dead, but they're just like embracing each other and like
Hmm.
knowing that they're safe now.
Yeah.
That's a very charged image for me. This is a really I'm a big sibling. This is a good like big sibling movie. It's
yeah
Hmm.
it's just like
Yeah, I can see that. And I think my problems ultimately lie in just like not being able to like buy into that. Like I guess
right,
mainly, well, at least in part like from the like an expectation side of things, it was hard for me to get into that. But also
right.
just in general, like even despite my expectations, like it wasn't really able to like grab me in that way.
Yeah. Like it's
And
hard for
I,
me to explain, so I definitely
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's on some level, all like art appreciation or dislike or whatever, I feel like there's some like gut level to it, and I
Yeah,
feel like, yeah, I just wasn't grabbed in the same way. But
for sure.
um, do y'all maybe want to go on to the third movie? Because I feel like,
Oh,
yeah,
we could talk in a while.
yeah,
yeah
we can get into that because I think at least just talking about my expectations going from one to two versus two to three, I think my expectations from two helped me enjoy three a lot more
Nice.
than I enjoyed two coming from one. Um, Hard to say whether I like three or one more because they're very different.
Yeah, for sure.
And lately I've been trying to not do like ratings on Letterbox, like number ratings anyway,
Hmm.
just to like see what it's like. And I think this is a place where like I'm glad I didn't do that because
Yeah.
it's like they just feel very different. Although there is like obviously that core of like horrific gore and violence in both of those movies. I think
Hmm.
three I think made me feel differently about the kind of like sibling family B plot or A
Yeah.
plot, I guess, depending on which one you kind of like focus on more,
Yeah.
um, and made me appreciate it and made me appreciate kind of like the juxtaposition between like the family stuff versus the horrific violent stuff because
Yeah.
I think there's something there that was tapped pretty efficiently in the third movie. That
I
being
agree.
said, I still didn't like the gore. Like
Yeah.
it
No,
was
for
still
sure.
a lot for me,
uh
especially because it starts with a child being
that
horribly
Yeah.
murdered.
here's what I'm gonna say I don't think they needed to kill the children.
Yeah,
I think like
yeah.
Is it
for
too edgy?
yeah, a little bit. Like
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I'm putting this in public on the internet. I'm all for it. Kill the children.
fair enough.
Damn. Yeah, I think to me it felt like maybe overcorrection, like because I think there is a tension at two and three to an extent, which is like the Terrifier one inside both of these movies that's like trying to break free. Like I feel like what's his name? Damien, is it?
Damien
Um,
Leone? Yeah.
or yeah, I think he wants to prove that this isn't like it's not going soft, or it's
No,
not like
exactly.
becoming too sentimental. So like to balance it out, we'll like horribly, gruesomely kill a child at the beginning.
Yeah.
So no one can accuse me of like making this too like soft or whatever. Or
That's
I
the main
guess
thing is that
maybe,
it's like
yeah.
it's not just that it's a child dying, it's that it's like a
Mhm.
child being ripped apart and
Yeah.
brutalized.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like it happens
There's like
off
one
screen.
axe swing sound effect too many. you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like it happens off screen, but then you see the body, and it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
no, like I'm good.
Absolutely horrific. It all honestly, it almost made me write off the movie entirely, like off the bat. Which like I feel like it is kind of maybe the intent in some part, like to kind of like filter people.
A little bit. I
Maybe.
told. I think I've told this story before. It was the second time that I went to see it in the theater. As it was starting, I was like, "Am I gonna have to leave?" Because like there was this group of people being like loud and chatty and annoying, like a few rows behind me. As soon as like the first like axe hit on that child is audible, they literally shut up, and I think they left eventually, like halfway through the movie.
Damn.
So that was kind of fun. That was
Yeah. Well, I'm glad the child death gave you something good at least.
no,
Um,
exactly.
But
yeah,
like
'cause
I think
yeah.
compared to I think two was my favorite in the series,
Hmm.
partially because there is that like hope at the end. But like yeah,
Yeah,
three is like just a grim movie. Like I mean
yeah,
there's
Yeah.
like but the end of it like everyone's dead. It's
yeah.
like except for her, like everyone's
Except for
dead.
her.
Yeah.
I think there. I mean, like not to. I think that there is maybe a thread, like an assumption that like maybe Jonathan is still alive.
Maybe. Yeah, because we
Um.
don't see his
Did
death.
we see the husband? Did we see the husband?
The husband's head is on the Christmas tree, and his
Okay.
body is like strung up and like gutted on the wall.
Okay. I
And
thought that was
Sienna gets her
Jonathan's
face
body,
like
so I
shoved
wasn't
into it,
sure.
and it's
Yeah,
gross.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
the
I
I think
remember that.
honestly, I think like the most upsetting death in the series happens in this movie. I mean, other than the child, but like, but
Yeah.
like, is the mom dying?
It's
Mm,
She
horrible.
gets the tube shoved down her mouth, and then
dude.
I'm not, yeah, but that's
It's
not,
like
I'm not gonna go
it's
any
like
uh,
further than that, but
yeah.
yeah, like it's like that is the one scene in like because like I think before this movie came out, it was like the shower scene that was being hyped up. It's like, oh yeah, this is the hacksaw scene slash bedroom scene of
You
this
know, I
movie. Like
didn't
that's this is
that
the
that
most
one
gruesome
didn't really
one.
leave a mark on me if I'm being
I
honest.
think
Like
it's
that one
delightful.
wasn't.
I think it's delightful. I love that one.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I thought it was interesting that it was kind of like it felt like I don't know if homage is the right word, but it felt like self-referential to the first one, particularly in how the dude gets killed. But
yeah, that
besides
yeah,
that,
almost is like a response to like the first one. It's like
yeah.
yeah,
I do find that interesting.
yeah, and I
Also,
think
a
that
response
aspect.
to true crime podcasts.
I was gonna,
Oh yeah,
yeah, this is something I'm gonna
yeah.
mention. Like, there is like, I do appreciate the commentary on like true crime stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, I think we have a
It's
bot
not.
in chat.
Oh,
Was it?
do we?
I
What does
can't even
that say?
see.
Oh, it's Russian. It looks like.
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh, um.
I
They
saw we
control
had 12
everything.
view. I saw we had 12 viewers, and I was like, how do we have
Oh,
that many?
oh
Well,
no.
well, whoever's watching, shouts out to you. But yeah, you were saying?
Uh, I do appreciate like the commentary here on like true crime stuff because
Mhm.
I mean, that is something I genuinely like don't like in culture.
Yeah.
It's like people's obsession with like
I mean, I need to
actual.
tread carefully here because there's a non-zero chance my mom is watching. Love you, mom. Um, and I know she loves true crime, and I think I like I think the main aspect with true crime that I don't like about it is its sensationalism, right? And
Yeah.
like sensationalizing like an actual thing of people dying. And like I think this movie is not like super like elegant in its portrayal of these people I mean it's like a woman who goes up to this the girl who survived this murder spree and is like how are you coping
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
it's
like
not
so
subtle.
crazy.
It's not subtle at
Yeah.
all. But I mean, like,
But
I just appreciate
I
that
don't
it's
expect
there.
that from
I'll,
the
I'll I'll
yeah.
also say about her, and she's the one who eventually dies, is that like when you see like
Yeah.
the clip of it, of like the clip of her podcast, like Jonathan's like watching it on his phone or whatever,
Hmm.
she is like the nicer and more reasonable one
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, that
you
is
know.
Yeah, I
true.
noticed
So
that.
it's like,
Yeah. I feel like they should have flipped that to just to make like hammer home the craziness of it. But
because she's like she's crazy like she and then the girl gets killed is like she she I don't even remember why am
Yeah,
I
they're accusing Sienna of being like the perpetrator of the
yeah
oh yeah,
massacre,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically.
Also, that's the other thing with the other girl who gets murdered in the second movie is like she talks about the deformity of the person in the first
Right.
movie in
That's
like
yeah, that's
very
Brooke.
horrible, disparaging
Yeah.
terms, and I feel like the movie's kind of showing it's like again that feels like a bit of a response maybe to the kind of criticism I had about the first one of having someone scarred or facially deformed or
Hmm.
whatever being like a villain. It's like okay, well now we're gonna have someone making fun of their deformity and we're gonna horribly murder them to show that we don't like that, like
Yeah.
yeah
that kind of
Although,
thing.
I'll say about Brooke, who's
Hmm.
the character you're talking about, I believe.
Yeah.
Uh, I think there is like not to say that like the characters in these movies are complicated in like a literary way, but like they're not one note. I don't
No,
think. Like
no, there's more to her. Yeah,
I
there's
noticed
definitely more to her
that
than that.
I always think about how Brooke is like an imperfect but like very sincere friend who like really cares about Sienna. Like she's the one who delivers like the exposition about like what happened to their family, what happened to their dad. And there's just this like sweet little moment where she's like, yeah, like considering everything, I think she's doing really well. You know,
Hmm.
there's just like a concern for each other that feels
Yeah.
very like lived in, I guess.
Hmm.
I feel the same way about like the mom in two, who's like a very abrasive character, but like they take the time to show like here's her horrible job, here's her like drinking to like cope with like her grief and stuff.
yeah
Yeah.
You don't have to take your time out of your movie to like show those kinds of things that like but they didn't, and I appreciate that, and I think that's part of why two especially like feels like a less mean and like callous movie compared to the first one.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I do
Um,
wonder more about like because we learn a little. I mean, we see like flashback scenes with the dad in the third movie.
hmm
mhm.
Yeah.
I am wondering like if that is gonna become more of like we're gonna learn more about him like
Yeah,
in later movies. I mean, I
because
imagine we
there's not a
will.
lot that we know for sure lore wise
Yeah.
at the moment, and I think Damien Leone is the kind of person who's like he doesn't want to like over explain things, especially because I
Yeah.
know that's part of like how he wants art to remain like kind of mysterious and
Yeah, I feel like
scary.
he maybe
So,
even lost some of that in the third movie is maybe one thing that,
mhm.
especially comparing to the first one, it felt like there was some edge being shaved off by like I mean, I don't know if it's super explicit, but it's kind of hinting that he's like a demon or like
He's in
related to
league with a
demons
demon
somehow.
at the very
Yeah.
Yeah.
least. Like he's
Hmm.
always been like kind of vaguely supernatural,
Yeah.
but like he's
Well,
definitely
he
like
comes
in
back
league
to
with a
life
D.
like
Yeah,
It
yeah,
reminds me
twice,
of
so
like
he's definitely not like just a guy.
reminds me of like
Um,
Michael Myers, like from the
yeah.
yeah.
Halloween movies. It's like
Hmm.
that kind of like where like like he's a person, but like there's something like he has some sort of supernatural powers to him that
Yeah.
makes it so he
Hmm.
can't
Yeah.
die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually the narrative stuff besides just like the sort of PTSD and like sort of aftermath stuff with Sienna and Jonathan, the narrative stuff that I think hits me the hardest in the second one is actually like kind of some of the demon lore stuff, because the way that the demon that's like possessing Vicky or whatever, like the mechanics aren't clear, but like there's Vicky is the mouthpiece for a demon in some capacity, a demon that is like trying to like not just like kill Sienna, which like especially through like the third act of this movie they could have done pretty much at any time, but like
Hmm.
to like sort of erode her will to live, so that she'll like give up control to them, which is like a very sort of heightened sort of supernatural horror movie, almost metaphor for what it feels like to live with PTSD. It feels like the
Hmm.
world is like antagonistic, and it's trying to erode like whatever connections you have that are like keeping you tethered to the
Mhm.
world.
Mhm.
And like obviously it's a little silly, maybe like it's all like demons and possession and stuff, but
Yeah.
I find something really like emotionally vibrant in that as somebody with some mental issues. So
Don't we all, to some
uh,
extent?
and,
Yeah.
and and I think it adds an additional dimension also to Sierra being like the badass final girl, whatever. Like there's a sort of emotional triumph to her resistance beyond just like
Mhm.
physically besting Art in a little sword chainsaw fight,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
that is
cool.
that is like my favorite scene in all of the movies. Is that
Base,
chainsaw and
base.
sword fight? It's so cool. Like
That's
it's
what you
just like
watch movies for.
it's so cool. Like I was just
Yeah,
like, this is awesome. Like what the hell? Like it's I don't know. It's
yeah.
cool.
It's nice to have a little raw fun in like that whole climax, which is otherwise I think really like emotionally brutalizing, just like a
Yeah.
rough
Yeah.
time.
Um,
So
just to pause real quick, I want to
no
say that
problem.
we are approaching, or we're at 8 o'clock now, but I think we should keep going because
Okay,
I think we have a lot more to say about this
Yeah.
movie.
Sure.
So
yeah.
please continue.
Did you expect to be able to talk this much about these movies? Do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, fair. Did you expect before you watched them that you would have this much to say about them?
No.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think,
I was just like I didn't really know what I was getting into,
yeah,
honestly. I
me
mean, I
too.
knew
Yeah,
they were going to be bloody, but like
yeah.
I am glad I watched them ultimately because and I haven't really said much about like how I feel. Like, I do think 3 is like a really good movie. Uh
Hmm.
Mhm.
I don't like it as much as 2, I don't think, but I do think 3 is it's like similarly effective in
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
ways, but like it's just the tone of that movie is a little more off-putting to me than 2.
I think it's because three is both like it's both more dramatic and more
Hmm.
comedic in a weird way. Like
Yeah,
there's a bit more like dark comedy and like stuff with like there's like they bring in these character actors for like these one-off scenes and you know that like Art's gonna kill them or whatever, but you still get like a little
Yeah.
bit of time to like breathe with them and have
like
like a fun time.
The Santa
I love
character.
such a good
Yeah.
scene.
I,
I
I
love Art the
think
Clown's genuine appreciation for Christmas and the Christmas spirit.
The
Uh,
the one scene that I mentioned to you before we started the show was when what was it like the
it was in
girl
the shower scene, right?
before that
Or
where
no, no, no,
like
it was before it. It was
she
before
was
it.
yeah, yeah,
she was
it's
like
the
I don't
setup
want
for
to
the shower
she was
scene.
like I don't want to fuck the clown and then like it shows like it shows like Art the clown and he's like genuinely like disappointed. He's like
Yeah,
he's like
he was
I
mad.
mean,
miming.
must be said, Art the Clown does pee 2 times in this movie, so I guess he has a penis.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I noticed they didn't keep up the theme of peeing and pooping being one of his like attributes as a character, because that's something of a through line in the first two movies. Not that I
yeah,
miss it. I really really could take it or leave it, honestly. But yeah, thought that was worth mentioning.
yeah.
The pee and poo poo.
Yeah, because like the whole structure of Terrifier 3, it almost kind of is like a throwback to All Hallows Eve, because like the in between segment is like this continuous story with like an emotional through line. That's Sienna and
Hmm.
all her with the family that she's staying with, and she has like kind of complicated, not always pleasant, but like again, I think very lived in and very sort of they feel very real the interactions that they have. And then you will occasionally do like a little short film with Art that like
Yeah,
takes some time to like establish its own characters that are not going to be like the deepest things ever, but you get a little bit of time to sort of breathe with them like as people and as presences before they get reduced to something bad. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think that kind of like combo in this movie is like the most remarkable part about it. Because I think too, to me, the biggest problem with it is like I feel like it does not kind of ride the like emotional and the horror aspects like
mhm,
nearly as elegantly as
yeah,
3 does, because I feel like having the Art the Clown stuff being almost tangential but still important to
Yeah,
the story helps the flow of the movie in
for
general
sure.
more. Um, and I mean, I think ultimately I still like when it comes to the, Sienna family and like art world colliding, like
Hmm.
I'm still kind of in that same mindset where like I feel like he's going easy on her. I feel like Art I think to me it's like I feel like Art the Clown changes when he's around them. Like I feel like
Right,
he's not the same character. I feel like I can see like the invisible writer's hands like holding him
right.
back as he's like putting his knife in. Like I think in some ways he is still kind of like defanged a bit, um even though he kills children in the movie.
I mean, he
uh
slapped her on the back of the head. It's pretty crazy,
yeah,
you know.
and I guess he also did like break her
Her
hands at
hands,
at
yeah.
the end of the movie, which is something. But then like I feel like there's a little bit of discontinuity there in like how bad the
Yeah.
hand injury is. Also
Well,
it randomly gets healed at the end,
I don't know
but
what
yeah.
that's about.
Yeah,
It's
but
because it's the sword, right? Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the sword. She also gets stabbed with it in the second one, but the wound heals.
Oh,
It's like
Oh
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it
yeah.
yeah,
can't
yeah.
it can't hurt it can't hurt her basically. I mean it
Mm,
can, or like it will hurt her, but like the wound won't stay there,
And
which
like
yeah.
is also maybe kind of a metaphor for PTSD.
well, I do think like what's interesting also is that three like brings in like the kind of like biblical like
Yes,
there's like biblical like almost like
yeah.
Evangelion-esque like in the
It's
sense that it's like kind of
Okay,
more subtextual like
this actually goes into something that I wanted to talk about on this. I notice in 3 in particular, there are some like, they may be superficial, but like striking similarities between this movie and Fire Walk with Me.
right.
Particularly between like what happens with Laura Palmer and like Leland and like what's happening to our main last girl and
Yeah,
this like possession character. I just thought it was interesting. There's like that theme of the angel or Virgin Mary or whatever
yeah,
that
yeah.
shows up, which is also something
Yeah,
in Fire
because
Walk with Me,
the
and a
sword
theme
is
of
wrapped in
yeah.
like the angel wrapping paper, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like you see her in that brief like dream sequence or whatever, which I actually really like. That scene where you see like the sword being forged or whatever. That
yeah.
like might have been my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Oh
It's so
yeah, that was
cool.
cool.
Like I just thought that was like just like visually like very striking to me. And I thought it was really neat. But
I think it's probably when we get to the fourth one, we'll probably see more imagery like that. I think it's like a sort of test
for
run
sure.
for things to
Yeah.
come.
I would definitely like to see more of that. I don't know if I would want to see it so much that I would subject myself to more gore and violence,
Yeah.
but it still nonetheless is very interesting to me. I will say though in 3 and like I don't know if this is because I was so far away from the first two movies because I watched the first two like 2 weeks ago or something like that because we were originally going to do it around Halloween, but I
Mhm.
watched the third one like a few hours ago,
Yeah.
and I thought that the writing was like noticeably like awkward to me. Not that like the
Interesting.
writing was great in like or I mean it's like serviceable for most of these movies, but in particular like a lot of the children's dialogue I thought was like really clunky. And I started writing them down because I was like so struck by some of them. Like at the very beginning, one of the children that dies at the beginning, like she's like, "Oh, I hear something on the roof," and then the mom's like, "There's nothing on the roof." And then she's like, "But I'm positively sure that I heard it." And like particularly like her saying
Okay.
positively sure, I don't know why
I
that
okay.
like pulled me out for a moment.
I have heard small children kind of try to punch above their weight with like big words before, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand why maybe it takes you out of it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say a few other highlights here that were stuck out to me. I forgot you don't like cereal anymore. Was an interesting one.
I
Um,
do love Gabby though. I think she's
yeah, no, I
I
think
think
she's
she's a very
a
sweet
much better
presence in this
actor
movie.
than pretty much all the other child actors and
Yeah.
Jonathan, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I really like Jonathan, but I could definitely agree.
yeah,
She has a very like effortlessly, like natural and nice presence.
for sure.
So
And then yeah, I guess here's another one that she said, "You didn't actually chop off a clown's head? Damn, that would have been so cool."
those are the kids who are watching Terrifier. They say,
Yeah.
"Damn."
Um, oh, and this is like I'll just do one more here. At the very end of the movie, character's reading a book, and then some guy interrupts her, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I was talking to you. Sorry if I was bothered. Just tell me to shut up next time." And then she has the book and closes it and says, "It's okay. This book is actually much creepier than I anticipated." Which I was
It's
just like,
just like the movie. She's
that just
just like the movies.
yeah, I don't know, that just like I give me like whiplash or something.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
No, like
what are we talking about?
it is definitely a little silly, all because especially because the book is also has like the
Yeah,
name of the short film, The Ninth
yeah, it's
Circle.
it's one of his
So
books or movies, right? Like
yeah,
the
it's
Ninth
it's
Circle or
the
whatever. Yeah.
the Ninth Circle, which I think
Hmm.
also is sort of an implication that there's going to be some hell stuff in Terrifier
Yeah.
4. So that's like
Yeah.
Divine Comedy, Dante's Inferno type language.
Hmm.
So
Which yeah, I thought that was cool, but yeah, just the dialogue I think could use a little work.
yeah, yeah,
To not
I
be
think
so awkward.
the sort of emotions and the even in the like less emotional scenes, like just the scenes with like like kind of quirky character actors like talking to each other and like being
Hmm.
like these sort of lighter presences in the movie. I think I think those feel very lived in. I think especially in the case of the character actors, like the quirky moments, it feels like very observational, like maybe like something that like an interaction that like you've seen, like they're like Damien Leone has seen and like wrote down. He's like, I'm gonna put that in the movie. They're just like something weird that someone says.
Hmm.
So I think this on a sort of base level, uh, they're very intuitive for me. But I could definitely see like the stuff on top, like the actual like line readings and like
Yeah.
lines that you used to get there. These still aren't super polished movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a
I think
split. There is a sick split diopter shot in this movie, though.
I heard about that. I didn't. Is that the camera that has two focal like points? Or
yeah,
I didn't. Okay, yeah.
it's like Jonathan like comes back to his like apartment or like wherever he's living, and like his medication is in the frame, like way in the
Mm,
foreground, like also in focus. Yeah,
I
I like
see.
that one. So,
That's cool. Yeah, I can
mhm,
appreciate that. Definitely, technically, these movies, like on the cinematography, audio, and all those sides, improved a lot over time.
definitely.
I think, yeah, I just think for me, one thing that is like notably absent is like the moment to moment dialogue. I think
Mhm, I
can
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 understand
use
that.
could use a little work, but
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, all in all, I definitely, yeah, felt more positively towards the third
Yeah,
one than the second one.
yeah. You
And
said it's
again, it
this one or
might,
the first for your favorite, right?
yeah,
So,
and yeah, I think it's a matter of expectations,
mhm.
in part. And if I were to rewatch these movies, I might feel differently. But yeah, I think all in all, very interesting movies. I'm glad I watched them so I know what all the hubbub's about.
Yeah.
I'm excited for
I don't,
more. Like I'm excited
Yeah,
for
no,
yeah.
like
movies.
I saw Terrifier 3. Let's record this was fun. I saw Terrifier 3 in the theater on opening night on October
Mhm.
11th, which was my birthday. So
Whoa.
thank you, Damien Leone. I appreciate it for doing this for
Mhm.
me specifically.
Yeah, but yeah, uh, interesting movies.
Yeah. Good
Definitely even,
conversation. Thanks, y'all.
yeah,
Yeah, that
of
was a
course.
fun.
Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily call myself a fan, but I think I definitely got something out of it, and
Mhm.
I like seeing novel things, and this is
I'm a
Yeah,
definitely
fan.
that.
for
I'm a
sure.
fan. I think
Yeah,
I think these movies like I think there's a lot of potential to like do even greater
I
things
agree.
For
with
I
this
sure.
agree.
and
I
art
think it's
as
good that Damien Leone definitely seems really averse to like resting on his laurels. Like he definitely seems like he really wants to improve like constantly. So
Hmm.
and these three
Yeah.
movies are all like pretty different like like they're all
Yeah,
like obviously like slasher movies, but they do feel like their own things. They don't just feel
for
like.
sure.
Yeah.
And I will say like uh I will say it is impressive because horror movies don't have, especially slasher movies, don't have a great track record with sequels. And
Hmm.
we have a series where like you could argue that every single one has gotten better. And that's
Yeah.
pretty
Mm,
rare for like a slasher series.
No, absolutely.
definitely. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just want to respond to this chat here from Mr. Edgy Eslo. What horror franchise would you want to see do a crossover with Terrifier? Um, that's a tough one. I think I feel like I don't know, Terrifier is like so its own thing
It
that
really
like
Yeah.
is.
it'd be weird to me to see any other like horror property
I was
Jason
interacting with
X
it.
Arkham
I was
Clown.
thinking that like this is because like the Scream movies are like kind of up in the air right now because
Mm.
they like fired all the main characters for not supporting a genocide.
Oh, brother.
uh because Scream, the future of that series is kind of uncertain. Like, are there even any other like notable ongoing like slasher movie franchises? Because
Mm.
like
Is Halloween still doing things?
uh
Uh, I don't. I
they,
know
they
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 came
had
out
like a
with something a
reboot
while ago.
series that like
Yeah.
ended, I think, pretty
Mm.
definitively. I don't know if there's really
Okay.
anything like ongoing. I'm sure there'll be like another Halloween movie at some point.
I
But
mean, Saw's
you
still going, right?
Saw is
Yeah,
still
those
going.
are
Saws
kind
aren't
of
slash. Saw isn't
not. Yeah,
slashers, but
But it's
but
like that. It's like similar. It's like kind of
they
like
are
a similar.
extremely gory and
they
make
are
you
they are
cringe.
gory, and they are like part of a weird recent trend where like I like Saw X like made a bunch of money too. Like, I think
Mhm.
people just have an appetite for violent horror movies right now.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Which, you know, so,
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Saw. I don't know. That sounds like
uh
it could
yeah.
be awesome.
Art and Jigsaw are like kind
Yeah.
of two different types of horror movie sadists because Art is
Yeah.
violent, obviously, and Jigsaw just
Mhm.
can't shut up. Like, he's so
Yeah, yeah,
philosophical,
seriously.
you know?
That'd honestly be really funny to see them interact. Like he's like describing a trap. He's like doing his whole like miming thing, and then he's like, but they have to be able to escape like the whole time. Like like I don't know. That's how I feel like there's potential there. But yeah. Good convo, folks.
Yeah.
I
It's a
think
great
this
Did
is
we
episode.
do shout outs or did we miss that?
yeah, we kind of skipped over it, but we can do it right now before we close out if you
Mhm.
like.
Shout out to the
Yeah,
Larter Nation.
shout out. Wait,
Absolutely.
let me do the soundboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
how it
shout
goes.
out shout out to everyone who tuned in. Shout out to Ed Gieslo. Shout out to Gage Broberg for lending me a physics textbook. Shout out to Espen for driving me to Norway. And everyone else who's awesome in the world.
Do you have any shout outs, Azzy?
Uh, Shout outs to Sienna Shaw for saving my life, changing my life. Lauren Lavera for being the only good Twitter account left. She's wonderful. Shout outs to Audrey Cord in general. Honestly, I don't know how many of them are listening or how many of them are gonna watch the VOD. But there's a couple people, in there who I have gotten to watch the Terrifier movies through my influence. It's like, shout outs Kempo, and Sushi, and I think even like Alice too.
Yeah.
Uh, Shout outs to Audrey for successfully watching 3 movies.
I'm proud of
Yeah,
3
myself.
a
movies.
record, a new record, I think.
And both of y'all for letting me
Thank
on the
you.
show to
Of
talk for a
course.
long
Long,
time.
long overdue, I think. But yeah, thanks for coming.
And 2 more things. Shout outs to my wives if they ever listen to this. Um, uh, Callie and Darby. Thank you for supporting me and the Larter Nation. Uh, and lastly, one last shout out to Art the Clown's most tragic victim, the Joker. May he rest in
Yeah.
peace at the box
True.
Mhm.
office.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Alice. She just typed in the chat. Hi Alice.
Okay,
Shout out
nice,
to
awesome.
you.
Hi, Alice. Thank you.
And
Awesome.
shout out to the Larter Nation.
Shout out to the
That's
motherfucking gosh darn fucking Larter Nation.
the only nation that should exist.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
No
think,
borders in the Larter Nation.
Yeah,
yeah.
we are an anarchist state.
We're just
Awesome.
like we are the clowns. We're the agents of
Yeah,
chaos.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm saying we. I'm not Larter. I'm not either of those people. But like
Well,
I'm here.
you're a part of the nation. You're a part of
Yeah,
the
but you're
nation.
part of the
I'm part of
nation.
the
Yeah.
I'm part of the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
You can have like a cabinet position.
Yeah, we'll give you citizenship. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Actually, no, one last shout out to letterbox.com/Miniike, where you can read more uh strange iconoclastic film criticism. So
And lots of M. Night Shyamalan praise.
literally.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks so much
Nope.
for coming on, and thanks for
Yeah,
everyone who
thank you.
listened.
It was
This was
my
really
pleasure.
fun.
This was
Mhm.
wonderful. This was like
Mhm.
effortless. Y'all are great.
All right,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much, and I'll see y'all next week. We will see you next week. All
Mhm.
right, bye.
Bye bye
Bye.
everyone.